Hey, hi everyone. Welcome to our second session, our coffee and conversation session on the different components of the Butler Montessori High School Fairhaven program. Last session, we talked about science and the science curriculum, and this one is going to be devoted to college admissions. And with us, we have Wendie Lubic, Butler's first ever college admissions consultant. So I will turn it over to Wendie, and she will tell us all about her work.
So very nice to meet you all, or meet your screens. My name is Wendie Lubic, and I am an independent college consultant. I actually worked on college applications with Emma back in the dark ages. So I've been doing this for a while. I was also a professor of graphic design at American University. So I have seen both sides of the desk. And just to give you some of my qualifications, since I'm not actually physically in the building, I am a certified educational planner, which is the highest certification in this field, and which is available for high school counselors, also available for independent counselors. And I'm a member of the National Association for College Admissions Counseling, and the Independent Educational Consultants Association. So as a requirement, I do a lot of sort of like continuing ed. I spend all my time hearing about college, talking about college, thinking about college. It's a lot. But I'm very excited to be helping the first group of students sort of go through this process at Butler, and to set up some systems that I hope are going to be helpful, and to be a resource for the Butler community. We're still working out details in terms of how often, how many, things like that, but I'm hoping that to be able to share the resources that I use for a lot of my private clients who go to private schools and go to public schools, but are paid where I'm paid separately and individually with the Butler community. So one of the things we were just discussing is in the fall, usually of senior year, but we let juniors come. We have a session on financial aid with a financial aid specialist. In addition, we have a session usually in the spring of junior and senior year where we talk about the transition to college, and we have an expert who comes and talks about that. So those are big Zoom sessions that we do. That have been very successful for our clients. But what I want to talk about today, and I want to save enough time for questions, is I really want to talk about what the colleges are looking for from your kids. And so it starts with this list, which Emma's going to be sending out some of these things to you after this meeting. But what are the colleges looking for? The first thing they're looking for is a rigorous high school curriculum. And that is something very specific. That is a curriculum that challenges but doesn't overwhelm and doesn't bore the student, where they're working hard, but they still have time to sleep, participate in extracurricular activities, spend time with friends and family. So we want to be focusing on working on that learning edge, that growing edge, so that if they're mastering important material, that then they're taking the next bigger bite and the next bigger bite. And I'm leaving that up to Emma and Natasha to make sure that that happens. And we're going to be in talks with the people at the Mastery Transcript to make sure that all of that gets translated appropriately for the colleges. In general, it may include AP and IB, but we're not sure how that's going to fit in. It could also include, and it's not listed on this form, but it could include dual enrollment classes. And these are things that usually students take maybe in 11th and 12th grade, just to show that they're a college readiness, not necessarily for a grade, but that they have completed a class on a community college level. That means that they're ready to take on college level challenges. Second point on this list, very important, is high grade point average. So the mastery transcript is not necessarily, it's not going to be an A through F transcript, but at the same time, it's going to show what the students are studying and what kinds of effort that they're going to make in these classes. And that's going to be hopefully translated in a way that the colleges understand. I have personally been in touch with a couple of colleges and talked to them about what they're looking for in the mastery transcript, and I'm going to continue that kind of interface to make sure that we can explain to the colleges what the transcript, how the transcript makes sense. So this is the next point that I really want to talk about for a longer period of time. And usually I wait until the end of a session to talk about testing, but for this session, I really want to emphasize that test scores are going to be really important for students applying to college, because the colleges, because your transcript is not going to look like every other transcript they get. We want to make sure that it's backed up by some kind of numerical data. And that the only way that we can do that is by having standardized tests. So this is going to mean a PSAT test, and then to prepare you for either the SAT or the ACT, and move that forward. And Emma and I have been in discussion with to have somebody come in and do test prep sessions at school so that it's not, when students take a test, this is not going to be something that they've never seen before. This is going to be something that they're going to say, oh, okay, we've done this before. I want to talk about test prep in a broader sense. Yes. Is it possible to apply to colleges without testing? Absolutely. Will it be more difficult with the mastery transcript to apply without testing? That's also a yes. The colleges are going to want something that gives them that college readiness sense. And if we don't have sort of GPA, which, by the way, has been an issue, as most GPAs tend to be inflated. So the mastery transcript is going to actually be a benefit, because it's going to actually list what you know and how you know it. But we want to also have these scores. But test prep in and of itself is useful. It reinforces the curriculum and helps in terms of knowing how you translate what you're learning onto a test. Also, testing happens on every level of the educational process. It's not just, oh, I have to get this score to get into college. You're going to be taking standardized tests at college. You're going to be taking a standardized test at the end of college, like the GRE or the GMAT or the LSAT. And so knowing how to take a test, that kind of test preparation, is an important life skill. And I just want to make sure that I emphasize that. But I also balance it with the knowledge that your test scores are not who you are. Those are two very different things. And we're going to be balancing both what you know, what you've learned, with how you are scoring on these tests, because not everyone scores well on testing. Does that make sense? So I'm gonna move on from there. Passionate involvement in a few activities. I think this is something that Butler School students do really well. They're actively involved in all sorts of really interesting things. The key thing to know, that in high school, your time is like money. Spend it wisely on the things that are really valuable to you, that really mean something to you, because then you're going to be writing about those things in these college applications. And it's not useful, I'll just say, in a public school setting, a lot of kids join clubs that maybe meet once a week and they don't get a lot out of it. What I want you to do is spend that time on wisely on things that really matter a lot, that you care about in a deep, meaningful way. Essays are another part of this process. So I'm going to consult with every family and every student individually on extracurricular activities, on summer options. I have lots of resources and things that we can talk about. We really want to make sure that the time that you spend outside of school is as meaningful as the time you spend inside school. In terms of the essay, so the essay is something that you're probably going to be working with Emma on in the process, but I am going to read every essay. I'm going to try to brainstorm or at least have a discussion, and I'm going to be doing some training with Emma over time on what we're looking for in terms of these essays. This is going to be an important part, but it's not, I want to emphasize, it's not just one essay. There are multiple essays. Some schools are going to want, I just looked at Virginia Tech, for example, and there's one main essay for the Common App. And then in addition to that, sorry, I'm trying to get my my little thing near me so you don't hear what's going on in the background in my house. There is, my microphone is sitting right here. And then in addition, there are going to be different essays. So for Virginia Tech, there are 4 additional essays of 120 words each. Now, 120 words are small, but they're hard to write. So those are all part of the package. Leadership is really important. Inside school, outside school, how are you using your unique abilities to make your world, the school, your home, your community, your church, whatever it is, how are you making the world a better place? I'm not worried about that. I think that that's part of your curriculum, to be thinking about these things. Other things that they care about are going to be strong counselor recommendations, any kind of special talents, intellectual curiosity, all things that are going to be a valuable part of your application, but that we're going to also discuss. Finally, we're going to talk about demonstrated interest. Demonstrated interest has to do with showing the colleges why you want to apply there. The students who are generally successful are ones who can express to the college in those little extra essays why we're a match. Here is what I'm bringing. Here is what you offer. This makes sense. This is why you should accept me. So I worked on a letter today with a student who was deferred from Wesleyan, and that student said in the letter, I want to, you offer this College of Letters degree, which is philosophy, literature, and history, and that's exactly what I want to study. And no other schools that I've researched have offered this degree, and I think I'm a perfect candidate for this, and this reason. So the best way to show demonstrated interest, or at least start, especially early on, is to visit. Visit the colleges. Don't do the campus meetings or any of the information sessions until you get to sort of 11th grade, but you can visit a college like the one behind me and look at the college, look at the type of students that are there, look at the location, learn more about these colleges. You can start as early as 8th and 9th grade, but you want to just to understand what's a big school, what's a small school, what's a school in a city, what's a school in a rural environment. Learning about all of those different options makes things a lot easier and will help you as you clarify what your academic goals are. So I'm going to go to, I don't know if I gave Emma this form, but I just want to talk about this as strengths and experiences because it sort of relates to this one. If I didn't send it to you, Emma, let me know. This is more, this section in terms of academic program, this is rigor. This is probably more for a more traditional high school, like a public school, but they want to know that even in your senior year, you're taking English, math, science, social studies, and possibly foreign language. Every college across the board is going to want roughly 4, sometimes 3 years of what we call the golden 5. English, math, science, social studies, foreign language. Foreign language, 3 years is enough, but 4 years is even better. GPA also not with the mastery transcript. Here's some standardized test scores to give you an idea. Recommendations, you're going to have head of school recommendation from Emma. You're going to have 2 teacher recommendations. You want them to be as good as possible. Then we have that demonstrated interest we just talked about. Community engagement is community service. Every school wants community service. Community service is a huge part of what the colleges are looking for because they want to know that people are going to come onto campus and get actively involved and make their community better. Back in the day, they used to want students to be well-rounded. They no longer want students to be well-rounded. They want students to be what they call spiky. Deep involvement in their activities, deep involvement in their communities and their community service, because when you bring spiky kids to campus, the campus will be well-rounded. And that's the most important thing at this point to the colleges. So English, 4 more years of high level English, 4 more years for math through calculus. Every college that I have spoken to wants to see a student at least attempt calculus. You do not have to be a math whiz, but they want you to attempt calculus, and that testing that we talked about, it has pre-calculus on it and some calculus. So it's a good idea to be thinking about that. You're not going to slack off on your math. Foreign language, 3 years is enough. If you have more, that's great. And then strong writing skills. So I think that's all I have to share, but I'm happy to, I could just go on and on as needed. But I'm happy to open it up to some questions if anybody has any.
Wendie, can I start you off with one?
Yes, please.
I don't think most of the parents know what mastery transcript is. Could you talk a little bit about it, and Emma will jump in too.
I think Emma might be better at talking about it. All I know is this is a company that sets up a transcript that can be sent to colleges and will represent what the student has studied in high school. But I have to confess, I'm still on the beginning edge of this because most of my clients have traditional transcripts.
Yes, I can speak to mastery transcript. So I started learning about mastery transcript years ago, if you can believe it. It was like 2017, I think, where I started reading about them, and I saw that they were creating this alternative to a traditional transcript, right? And meeting this need where, to exactly Wendie's point, where grade point average is heavily inflated nowadays. So it's hard for the colleges to see, what is an A in Montgomery County versus an A in Frederick County versus an A in Prince George's County, not to mention all around the country. So they were looking at grade inflation, and they were also looking at the way that curriculum is structured in high schools and saying, how do the colleges really know what the student is interested in and who they are as a person? So trying to give them a more holistic picture of who this person is, both academically and socially. So they created this mastery transcript, and I immediately contacted them and I said, tell me more about your program. And it was very new at the time. And they were like, well, we're still working on it, but it's coming together. And I said, great, well, I don't have a high school yet. Well, hey, guess what? Now we have a high school. So I contacted them again and I said, now I'm really ready to be with you guys, and you have years of experience under your belt. And they've had kids use Mastery Transcript or their Mastery Learning Record, which is another service they offer, to get into over 380 colleges successfully. So I feel it's sort of the right moment to be like, yes, we know this thing works. And also I think it's the right match for what we're trying to do at Butler, because as you guys very well know, we're not grade driven, right? We're really looking at, what do you know? How do you know it? Can you talk about it? Are you passionate about it? And putting all of that together in a way that translates to college's understanding. So that's my spiel on Mastery Transcript.
And I think that this is going to work really well for the application process in general, because students who can talk about what they want, what they are passionate about, are able to communicate that through the application in a way that makes sense to the colleges. So I'm actually really looking forward to learning more about
it. Kier, did you have something?
Oh, just is it something that homeschoolers use?
That's a good question. Actually, I'm not sure if homeschoolers use Mastery Transcript. I don't see any reason why they couldn't. I want to say, but I do know that a lot of private schools are moving more towards Mastery Transcript, and potentially some public school systems, but there are no public school systems in Maryland that I know that use it. But
homeschoolers do go to college.
And homeschoolers do go to college, and they might use Mastery Transcript. I actually am not sure. I was not looking at that, but a lot of private schools do. I actually was just on Bullis's website, and I happened to be poking around looking at something in particular, and right at the bottom of their admissions, or one of their pages, it was like, talk to us about our use of Mastery Transcript. And I was like, well, if Bullis is using it, then it's got to be decent. So
and I know that there are several private school programs in Pennsylvania that use it.
Yeah.
So
good question, though. Actually, I don't know whether homeschoolers use it.
I do know homeschoolers do have to have testing. The testing when there are colleges that are saying, oh, well, we're test optional or we're test blind, homeschoolers are the exception to the rule.
And the testing, like the PSAT, would that start in 9th grade or 10th grade?
I would like it to start in 9th grade. But at the end of this school year, I would love to have someone come in and do a mock PSAT. Look, the fact is the PSAT doesn't get reported anywhere, and the PSAT doesn't matter until fall of junior year, when the PSAT scores get submitted for the National Merit qualifying test. It's considered the National Merit qualifying test in the fall of junior year. So PSAT doesn't really matter, so we don't have to have an official PSAT. But Emma and I are talking about having a company come in and run a mock PSAT for students. Now, here is the complication. The SAT is now digital. So whatever company comes in is going to have to run a digital PSAT that is going to be that is going to be a whole different format. So it's something that's going to have to be sort of figured out as we go along. But I'm confident that can happen, because I do have students who are taking mock testing digitally, and I know of companies that can do it, and Emma knows a company that she thinks is going to be able to come in and do that.
And I will also just say the 9th years don't know this yet, but they are going to do a mock PSAT this year. Wendie and I just talked about it. So I don't know, PC, if Frog is listening with you, but sorry, guys, I didn't tell you yet. You're going to do a mock PSAT, because this is the kind of pattern that we're trying to build, right? Is that you're starting the test prep as 9th years, so then you can do it again as 10th years. By the time you get to your 11th year, your junior year, you're ready to start really taking these tests for real, and then also senior year as well. So it
So I
starts.
think May would be a good time for this first one.
Yeah, and that's about the like early mid-May is about the time we're looking at this. So you heard it here first, folks. 9th years are taking them off PSAT.
So then if you do the PSAT in 10th grade, you are still on track to potentially get a National Merit Scholar letter.
Absolutely 100%, because they don't even count the 10th grade PSAT. The 10th grade PSAT, which usually happens in October, is a test that goes nowhere. The only PSAT that they care about is the one in the fall of junior year. And in fact, many kids don't take it because for some reason they're sick or something like that. And there is something called alternative qualification, which means you take an SAT by a certain date and send that in. And so you don't even have to take a PSAT in order to qualify for national merit.
Thanks.
Wendie, can you talk about, I know you've already been working with some of our students. Can you talk about a little bit with what you've been doing?
She just met with them once so far.
Okay. Okay, great. Great.
Real quick one.
What kinds of questions did they have? I'm curious.
I'm trying to remember.
I think I just asked them a couple questions about what they were doing and what they were passionate about. I do want to tell you that I am beta testing right now a very interesting website where you can put in what you're interested in doing in terms of summer plans, and it will spit out ideas. From some friends of mine in Texas are putting together this website. It's a college, their company's called College Matchpoint, and it's a cool website. And when they go live, which I think is supposed to be next month, I'll be happy to share it with people. And you can just, I wouldn't do it now because I really find it to be a little clunky right this second. But when they get all the filters in place where you can say, I'm looking for an engineering program for girls in this state for this month, et cetera, then I think it will be really fun. It'll be a really good resource to have.
Other questions? College admissions?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, let's say I was a 12th grader and I wanted to take college courses over the summer just to kind of explore my interests, would that mean that the college would consider me a transfer student and that I'd be just like disqualified from, like, let's say, incoming freshman type scholarships?
Absolutely not. The only even I had a student, there's a program at School Without Walls in Washington, D.C., where students in the last 2 years of high school take classes at GW. And instead of their high school classes, it's a weird pre-college program. And even in that case, the students have the option of applying as traditional freshmen, even though they have taken 2 years of college classes. I think the question is, are you getting credit and do you want to keep that credit? If you're willing to say, yeah, I took this class and I got this grade, and not take college credit, then you go in as a traditional freshman. So it's only if you went to, say, community college for 2 years and you earned an AA degree. If you did that, then you would be a transfer student, but only if you chose. And the fact is, the colleges would probably rather you come in as a freshman because then they're going to get all that tuition money for 4 years as opposed to 2 years.
Right. Okay, thank you. That helps.
Any other questions?
I guess I have one, and I think, sorry, I'll show my ignorance here, but I feel like I'm still learning about kind of the curriculum that will be, that's being offered with the high school program to kind of understand, what makes it rigorous as you described, and how does the curriculum support that?
I'm gonna take this one. Okay, I'm trying to figure out how to answer this question. I have many things to say. So the intermediate program, which is the middle school program that we have and has been going on for 30 years, is a fairly rigorous academic program, right? We're laying the foundation for these middle school students to be successful in higher levels of education, like high school and later college and grad school and whatever it is that they choose to do. So they're getting all of the fundamentals of different disciplines of science, different eras of history, learning how to read and critically analyze a text very well. Their writing skills we're working on super heavily so that they are able to be successful at a high school and then later at a college level. So when I went to go create the curriculum for the high school, I took everything that we were already doing in the intermediate, which is already basically at a high school level, if we're being honest with ourselves, what a traditional public school high school would be, and layered on top of that and said, what are the areas that we can add rigor, like what Wendie is talking about? So we're keeping the students challenged, but at the same time helping them to meet their edge so that they're not feeling overwhelmed. And we're staying true to our Montessori principles of exploration and identifying passions and feeling and being community focused, entrepreneurship, global citizenship, all of these things sort of coming together. So I would say it's a very interdisciplinary curriculum. It's looking at taking what they already know and diving deeper into each of these subjects, but at the same time looking at how all of these different disciplines intersect with one another, right? Because I feel very strongly that life doesn't exist in a vacuum. So how can you learn science without history and without math, right? And without language to speak about it? All of these things really have to be interwoven. So Anika talked a lot at our last session about the way she designed the science curriculum, which is it's a 3-year cycle curriculum that is interdisciplinary, and it's taking different branches of science and putting them together, but it's also designed so that students are preparing, if they choose, for a specific AP test, right? So they could be prepping for AP chemistry or AP biology or environmental science if that's their focus or their interest. The same is true for the humanities. I'm a writing person. Anyone who knows this about me, I was an English major. So I'm deeply passionate about seeing them be able to read and understand text very, very, very well. And I also had the joy of a former student, Butler student, coming back today. He just finished his first semester at University of Maryland. And I said, what was the hardest thing basically about going from high school to college? And he said, the reading. He said, and I hear this from all of these kids where they're like, the way that they're prepping them in high school is not matching the need in college with the amount of reading that they're being given. Right. He's like, yeah, okay, before I had to read like 100 pages, a week or every other week. And now it's like 100 pages a day that I have to get through. So I think looking at that and saying, how can we make sure that they are prepared to meet that, how to read and how to read well, like how to be able to read effectively. This is a very long roundabout answer to your question. I'm so sorry. But basically, if I had to summarize all of it in a sentence, it's matching the rigor, making sure they're being challenged, making sure that they're finding the areas that they're passionate about in all of these subjects, making sure that they are college ready, that they're ready to jump into that with all of the skill set that they need. And at the same time that they're having fun. School should be fun. It's one of the things I love best about Butler, right? Is that they love coming to school. And I want them to continue to love it in all of the different things that we do. Academic, creative, entrepreneurial, they love all of it. That was a lot, and I should probably stop talking.
No, but it's great because what that highlights is that the Butler students are not just checking boxes. A lot of the programs that I sometimes see in high school is, okay, have you completed health? Check. Have you completed your art? Check. And students are checking boxes rather than layering all of this learning in a way that they can use and enjoy and appreciate. And so it's just goes to show that this is going to be a success. In terms of rigor, it's definitely going to be there.
Melissa, does that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
I shared in the chat, we have on YouTube our wonderful person who does all of our social media, Mickey. She's made a playlist of all of the information about the high school. So you can just click on that. It's on our Butler Montessori YouTube. And then later on, this recording will go in the Butler Bulletin and then also be added to that playlist. So if you're curious about the science curriculum that we talked about last month, you can go and find the recording in there. And then also Emma gave a coffee and conversation that was an overview of the high school last year, and that recording is in there too.
I was going to say, are they mostly just videos of me talking about the high school? Okay.
And the ninth years, there's some of the ninth years too. Yeah.
You should just listen to the ninth years talk about school. They love it. They talk so eloquently about all the things they love about school. It's inspiring.
Great. I will check this out. Thank you.
Any other questions, college related, anything, anything related to this subject?
Hello, this is Simeone over here. This is very, very interesting and exciting. I don't know if I missed anything at the very beginning, but I'm wondering what kind of music the high school will have.
This is an excellent question, and it's something that we're still figuring out because our high school is so small at the beginning. That what our plan is or what my plan is, because I think it logistically makes the most sense, is to be asking our students as they're coming through, what are you interested in? And how can we connect you to the resources that you need to be successful in that area? So if I have a student who is very passionate about music, right? What kind of music are they interested in? What do they want to learn? And how to connect them with an expert who can help them develop that in a particular area. And I have a perfect example of this, is that I have a ninth year student right now who I just found out she loves writing songs. She said, Miss Rodwin, here, look at this song that I wrote. And I was like, this is amazing. And so I went directly to the teacher who's working with the intermediates on music composition. And I said, I have a student, she's deeply passionate about songwriting. She wrote this song. She's trying to put it to music and she's struggling. Can you help her? Right. And so I'm connecting the two of them to be able to work on this together. This, of course, again, to keep it on the college theme, this could easily turn into a class on music composition, which rounds out that student profile to show, right, this is something that she's passionate about so much that she has taken a course in this with us. So rather than me saying, we offer piano and choir and all of these things that I can't necessarily promise that we have right at the beginning, I'm sort of playing it by ear a little bit at the beginning to say, what are you interested in? How can we help you? And if there's enough interest, then of course we can make these things. We can make a choir, we can make a band, but there has to be enough interest from the students, right? Rather than there being a buffet for them to choose from, we are co-creating the buffet together, if that makes sense. Does that answer your question, Simeone?
Yeah. Thank you.
the same thing is true with sports, I will just say, because that often comes up where they're like, what sports will you offer? And I say, well, what sports would they like to play? Those are the ones we're going to offer. And then with more growth and more interest, of course, these things start to be put in place for longevity. Should we give it more time or should we wrap it up? Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So I'm Sophia, and I have a question. If I were to enroll in your school, could I still take one of my classes from my current high school?
That's a great question that I would love to know the answer to from, because you're at QO, right?
Yes.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to say about that is on our end, yes, absolutely. Right. Like I would be more than happy if you wanted to take a class there. So it's no issue on our end. The question is going to be, will QO let you do that? And that's the one that I don't have the answer to yet. I, of course, can find out. You also can go and find out at QO whether or not they would let you do that. But if they, basically, as far as I'm concerned, if they say yes, it's definitely a yes from us because I want you to access as many community resources as possible. So if you have a class that you love and QO is like, yes, you can continue to take this class here, then by all means. I will just add though that MCPS notoriously is a little difficult about some of these things. So it might be a no. That's also possible, but I'm a big proponent of you never know unless you ask, right? So let's go and ask. What is the class that you love that you want to keep, Sophia?
I want to keep taking sign language.
Oh, awesome. And also, so here's what I'll say is that if they say no, basically that you can't continue to take sign language with them, we have contacts with sign language teachers who are currently teaching the elementary students at Butler. So you can continue to take sign language even with us. Does that help?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have one more question. There is like there's a program for art that's like I think it's an afternoon kind of a thing, like after lunch. It would be probably after lunch to the rest of the day. If like a high school student wanted to participate in that type of a program where they're like gone half the day, like is that even possible to manage? Like is that like would they be able to get their core in the beginning of the day and then run off at noon to do this art program?
Oh, it's an art program. Yeah, I mean, these are sort of logistical questions about how we're delivering curriculum at Butler. But the answer is yes, right? The beauty of being a small program is that you're extremely flexible. So, and I know why you're asking this question specifically because I know your daughter, that yes, if that's her interest, where she's like, yes, I want to do this art program, this is my passion, which I already happen to know that it is, then we would be working with her to say, how can you fulfill all the requirements that Wendie's talking about, taking those courses within the resources that we have available at Butler, because Mrs. Daly and Senora cannot be in two places at the same time, to make sure that she can meet all of those requirements in the morning and still have her afternoons free. But until she can drive, you might be taking her there. I'm just going to add that very quickly. Go ahead, Wendie.
I just wanted to add one more thing about art, is that for students who are really passionate about art and music, there's a whole part of the process where you can add a special portfolio, a special art portfolio or music portfolio. And I have, first of all, as a former graphic design professor, I know how to get some of these portfolios together, but I can also help students with putting all the pieces together for the portfolios and looking for those portfolios early, particularly film portfolios are really tricky, and getting all the pieces together so that they can be prepared to audition and to do the work that needs to be done, and do the videotaping that needs to be done for theater, for et cetera, in order to put together those art portfolios.
Did that answer your question, PC?
Yes, thank
Good.
you.
We can work on it. I feel like just at the moment that I'm ready to end the session, somebody has a burning question, but I'll start to wrap this up. Just interrupt me if you have a question. But I want to thank everybody for coming to this. I did the same thing at the last session. I'll do it at this one as well. This is my plug. This is only session 2 out of, I think, 6 or 7 that we're going to run. The next one is going to be in the new year, obviously, because December is rapidly coming to a close. And I think the next one is Spanish. Is that right? Will you double check? Okay. Senora is going to talk to us about her Spanish curriculum, in which she has she's already prepped kids for Spanish 1, 2, and 3, but she is developing the curriculum, or has developed the curriculum for Spanish 4 and Spanish 5, including AP Spanish, and also the option to test for the seal of biliteracy. So this is what is coming up next. It is in January. It will be in the Butler Bulletin and on the calendar and in your homeroom and in emails, just in case we don't communicate enough. We're trying to give you this information. Later on this year, we'll have a session on math where we'll talk about moving on from geometry into algebra 2, pre-calculus, and calculus, as well as personal finance and statistics. I will talk about humanities and language arts, my deep love and passion for how to develop that curriculum. And we'll also talk about the other cool experiential components of Butler, like international travel, internship opportunities, and entrepreneurship opportunities to really be business oriented in the community. So this is my plug. You can come to one, you can come to them all, but we are continuing to offer them to get out this information to the community so more people can know about it and hopefully choose us for their high school experience. I want to thank Wendie so much for coming and working with us. Wendie is amazing at her job. I've known her for so long, and she's known me for so long. So I can just attest that she's amazing at what she does, and we're really, really lucky to have her.
And I do want to add that seal of biliteracy is something that goes on the application. So exactly. It's definitely, when you do, my ears just pricked up and said, "Ooh, that's good. I want those are the kinds of mastery exams that are so important in the process." So very nice meeting you all tonight.
Thank you guys all so much for coming.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.